can you talk to us about just your team's mindset headed into this postseason? Number one, and number two, I'd ask, do you feel like you or your team as a group have a little chip on their shoulder to kind of hold up the banner of the Pac-12 a little bit?
I'll start with the first question. Our mindset
Okay.
is that we're grateful to be playing.
Yes,
And I would say playing in the postseason and then just playing. There was a point in time where we weren't sure that Stanford athletics were going to happen this year. And I know that we as a group didn't know collegiate athletics was going to happen, but Stanford was kind of in its own world as far as that goes. And we weren't really sure whether or not we were going to have any opportunity. So every opportunity that we have to step foot on the field together, we are grateful for. So we are happy to be here. As far as a chip on our shoulder, I think that's too big of a weight to put on the entire team to come here to Fayetteville and have. So no, I wouldn't say we're playing with a chip on our shoulder. Now, as a coach in the Pac-12, do I think there were some mistakes made? And do I think there's some things that really need to be looked at? I absolutely do. But that's not my team's problem. Our goal is to come out here and play Stanford softball.
Is that, yeah, to kind of go up, piggyback off that a little bit, your focus obviously is South Dakota State, right? Yeah. At this point. Yeah. So what do they bring at you? What sticks out when you look at South Dakota State?
I mean, they're a good ball club. They're a very good ball club. Spending 7 years at Minnesota prior to heading to Stanford, I'm very familiar with the Summit League. And I mean, it's a good softball league. Coach Wood's done a great job up there, and they've got pitching. They've got depth in their pitching staff that's been tremendous. They've got great speed at the top of the lineup, and they can hit the ball. So they're a complete team, and we're going to need to play well in order to put ourselves in a good position.
What do you feel like are strengths of your team?
Yeah, I think obviously it starts in the circle. I think AV is doing a tremendous job for us right now, but I think we've had depth all year, and I think we've had different people step up behind her at different times and give us depth in the circle. I think our defense has come on strong as of late. When you have drop ball pitchers rolling ground balls, and your infield defense plays great behind you, it's hard to score runs. And then I think we have the ability to score up and down the lineup. We have people who, have had a little bit of peaks and valleys offensively, but that is what our game is. And when different players are maybe going through those different lulls, we're able to score up and down the lineup with a mixture of power and speed. So I think, we got a little bit of everything, but I would say, our strengths over the last 4 weeks, we've pitched and defended very, very well.
I'll let someone else go. Thank you for your time, Coach. I appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Justin.
Hey, Coach. Can you just talk about Elena and the performance she's had this year? She's done really well, and then she's done a really well player's version of really well at times. Can you just talk about her and the impact she's had on your team this year?
I mean, she's putting together a tremendous year. It's this whole second year sophomore thing, I think second year freshman thing might even be more interesting than the 5th year senior portion. Just because when the, season ended at the end of last year, we hadn't played any Pac-12 games. So we were playing our preseason games, kind of eased into the beginning of it because we knew we were going to be young in the circle at the beginning, but then had just come back from Tennessee, and AV had beat Tennessee at Tennessee. So we knew that she had, it in her, but then we never got into the Pac-12s. So we never really saw what she, did against that level of competition. So then, even though it feels like Elena has been on the roster for forever, you forget that this was her first time going through the Pac-12 season. And to just see her be successful against the best teams in the country has been exciting to watch. I think the best part about Elena is after every game, she goes in, her and Coach Nyberg watch the film. They talk about what went well. They talk about where they can improve. And she is very methodical and not emotional about it. So she owns what she did well. She is not bothered by what she needs to be better at. She simply attacks those challenges. And I think that's allowed her to grow as the season progresses and just, put together a great regular season for us.
Eric.
Coach, great to talk to you again. Just speak to the growth of this team from day one. You mentioned it. You weren't sure if you were going to have a season, and obviously with everything around it to not only have a season, but be playing some of your best softball here down the stretch. Just talk about the growth of this team this year.
I mean, I can't talk enough about the growth of the team this year. And we didn't get the team together until February 4th, which sounds crazy, but that's real. That's the reality we had. And on top of that, we weren't really certain that we were going to have a season until we got everybody back on campus. They had to quarantine 10 days before that. So the maturity that they had with every phone call that they received that said, okay, we thought we were coming back at this point in time, but just wait, just wait, just wait. And for them to not panic, but then also still put in the work. So it's one thing not to panic and just sit at your house and do nothing. But not only did they not panic, but they were ready and they got ready on their own. And I think that takes a real, that takes strength of character and that takes great leadership. So for them to show up February 4th, fit and ready to get better was incredibly impressive. And like you said, yeah, we feel like we're just hitting our stride. So we're starting to figure out who we are. We made some defensive changes in the middle of the season. We did a huge, massive switch in the middle of Pac-12s, put people in positions that they hadn't played before, but that's what we needed to do in order to get our best defense and our best offense in the lineup. So we kind of feel like we figured out things that you'd normally figure out during the fall season in the middle of Pac-12 play, which doesn't seem, it's not how you'd write it up, but it's where we are. And I'm impressed with our team dealing with that. And then I think we're just really starting to hit our stride. So like you said, obviously the weekend against UCLA was a little bit of a speed bump. I think most teams that played UCLA hit a little bit of a speed bump this year, but other than that, we strung together a really good series between Arizona State and Oregon State and the midweek with Cal and UW. And we're playing really good softball right now. So I feel like we're just starting to hit our stride, figuring out a little bit who we are and what we're all about. And we're excited that we get to keep playing.
I want you to that's an incredible story. And I forgot until you brought it up, but it's true. You didn't start practice till February. That's usually when you're already getting ready for a season. How, as a coaching staff, did you adapt to that? Like normally you have a fall to prepare and things, and you're trying to figure things out at one of the toughest conferences in the country during the season. How to describe this year from a coaching standpoint and preparing?
I mean, I don't know if I can. It's nothing like I've ever been through before, and hopefully it's nothing like we'll go through again. So we just decided that this is where we're at. We're bringing pitchers back. They're on pitch counts. So we've decided that no matter what happens, like this is as much as they're going to throw through the preseason. We're building them up, and we're not necessarily making the decisions that we'd make if everybody was already in game shape, but we've committed to not getting anybody, hurt, and we keep the main thing and get to where we need to be. So we had pitchers on pitch counts. We have hitters trying to just get their legs back underneath them, making sure, there's one thing to train on your own, and our players did a great job of training on their own, but team practice is a whole nother gig. So we had to make sure that we were training appropriately so nobody blows a hammy, because you just can't afford to at that point. You got to stay healthy. And luckily, we were able to stay pretty healthy. And then it was just talking to our players a lot about we need to be comfortable in this growth space. So, we started a weekend after the first weekend that everybody else could play, because we just weren't going to be ready to play. So it condensed the season a little bit, but it gave us 9 days to prepare, which is better than 3 or whatever that was. And we just told them we're going to have to be comfortable in this space. So we're going to, after every game, this season or other seasons, we sit down, we talk about what we did well, what we need to get better at, and then prepare for the next game. But I would say this year, it's even more of that. Like we needed to really take every game as an opportunity to learn. We're putting in defenses on the fly. We're learning signs on the fly. We're going through base running situations. So it was awesome though. I'm just impressed with our resilience. I'm impressed with our young women. Like there's not a lot of teams I think that could handle that. And they just never wavered. And the fact that given the hand they were dealt, and we talk about this often, there were a lot of people that COVID, affected much more than us. Like we are not complainers by any stretch of the imagination. That being said, there aren't many softball teams that COVID affected more than us. And for us to be sitting here at a regional and putting together the Pac-12 season that we did, I mean, I couldn't be more proud of this group.
Did you have doubts during the season that you would have enough time to kind of get it all together and put it together and get to the NCAA tournament? And it sounds like this might be one of the most rewarding seasons of your coaching career just because of everything you've gone through.
I mean, I absolutely had doubts, and I mean, I think I knew we were good enough. And what I kept telling our team every time that we got told we weren't coming back to campus was like, we've got a good ball club. We got good ball players. We're going to be a good team. We just need to get on the field together. And that was my messaging. And I truly believed that. Like when I went through piece by piece, like we've got a special team and we've got good ball players. And I knew we were going to have a great team. It was just a matter of when we could get on the field together and how long it was going to take us to kind of getting rolling and clicking. So I wouldn't say like the concerns were overwhelming. It was more just like some things need to go right here and we need to be able to do some things in stride. But again, just I can't overstate the impressiveness of the leadership and what this team's done.
You're playing, you mentioned South Dakota State. You're familiar with the Summit League. Coach Wood got a 1-2 punch in the circle there. Incredible with Torrey there and Glancer.
Yep.
Compare this team. I don't know if you knew Coach Wood from your days at Minnesota, if you crossed paths and played, and how would you compare this team that they have compared to some of those North Dakota State teams that Coach Mueller had that you had to deal with when you were in Minnesota?
I mean, deal with is one word. Holy smokes. They good ball clubs. That's what I can say. Those are good ball clubs. You know, I haven't played South Dakota State with Coach Wood at the helm yet, you know, and obviously now, even though it feels like I haven't been at Stanford all that long with all the craziness that's going on, I've been out of the upper Midwest for a long time now. So I'm not as familiar. I am now that I'm doing my work, but heading into this regional, you know, not as familiar. But I mean, if you got good pitching, good hitters and good speed, you're a good ball club. And those are things that North Dakota State always had in all of those years. So I can tell you that we are very well aware that we need to be ready for South Dakota State because they got a good ball club.
The players have talked about the legacy of Stanford, that you bring that up, obviously as a great player, you know, yourself there, getting to the World Series. How important is that for you as an alum, not just a coach, but an alum, to tell the players about the legacy and the tradition of Stanford, not only on the field, but how you represent off the field?
Well, I think it's a multifaceted question. I think the biggest thing, it's not the legacy of it. It's like the current reality of it. Nobody comes to Stanford to be average. Like, I don't care what you're coming for. You don't come to Stanford to be average. So you're not going to be average in the classroom. You're not going to be average on the field. You know, you come to have the best of both worlds and to be challenged as a person, a player, and a student. Nobody just happens to wind up at Stanford. Like, there's a lot of things that you have to do in order to get there. And none of them showed up at Stanford to be average. So let's get after it and take advantage of the absolute best academic athletic experience that any university in the country can offer.
All right, any more questions for Coach Allister?